guys, I'm back again and I'm here to do my July wrap up. So, as you remember in my first video, I told you that I was doing Junk Journal July last month. So, I was kind of like MIA. Well, I wasn't exactly MIA, but a little bit. So, I'm going to talk about the 4 books that I read last month, and I'm not mad at all about the reading I did last month. It was a lot better than I, was expecting it to be. So the first book, I'm not going to talk about this one too much because it is the second book in a series. So this is the graphic novel L'Odyssée d'Akem, which is by Fabien Toulmé. And okay, this one is in French, but I think it has been translated into English, and it is the journey of Hakem, who goes from Syria to France, I think it is. So this is the second part of his journey, and it is quite harrowing and just a very, very, consuming read. Like, this graphic novel, you can't just start it and then put it down and pick it back up. No, you just want to just read the whole thing. It's so, so, so good. This is a true story of an immigrant who leaves Syria and is looking for a better life in Europe. And it is literally him telling the story. So this man met with him and they exchanged and decided that he decided that he would tell his story, and Fabien Toulmé would illustrate it. And it's just done so well. The illustrations are very simplistic, but they do the job. I tell you, this one, it's a trilogy. Do not miss out on it. This is a 5-star read. Highly recommend. Okay, the next book I read was this one right here, Let Me Liberate You by Andy Davis. I'm not mistaken, Andy Davis is from Barbados, and this story takes place in Barbados. Now, what I really liked about this one, okay, so this one came out, it was July 9th of this year. And what I really liked about this one, it was funny. It was funny. Now, I had started to read this one and then I realized, okay, there's, patois and voice. It's sounding crazy in my head when I read it. I'm just going to be honest. It sounds crazy in my Black American head. So I decided to get the audio for this one. And oh my God, so, so, so good with the audio. Now, I don't know how authentically it was Barbadian sounding, but you know what? I'm going to go with it because it sounded a lot better than the crazy Caribbean accent that was in my head. So I highly recommend you go with the audio with this one. It was very good and it gave me a lot of joy and it was funny. It talks about a girl whose name is Saber Cumberbatch, and she's sort of like an Instagrammable kind of figure, and she goes back to the island to stay with some of her relatives, and it's like she's looking for something to improve her life, but she's just not sure what it is job-wise. So she gets back to the island. She stays with her auntie and her cousins, and they are wealthy. They have a big house. They got maids. They got cooks, etc., etc. And she's then invited to go on a radio show that her aunt sets up for her, if I'm not mistaken. And when she gets on the show, oh my God, something else totally happens on the show, which changed the trajectory of the story and changed the trajectory of what the main character is expecting to happen to her. Let me tell you, very, very funny, well done, well put together. It's short. It's great listen if you're into audiobooks and you want to listen to something while you're doing another activity. I highly recommend this one. I thought it was very good. I give it about like a 3.5 stars. But for me, it was a joy to read because I don't think I've read anything funny in so long. Something that would actually make me laugh, and, giggle a little bit. Not in a long time. And so I feel like I need to expand my reading and try to find books that are more humoristic, because This really gave me some joy, which I don't usually get from my books. My books usually are very sad stories. But this one, I highly recommend it. It was good. It was good. Now, the next book on my list, you know all about this because you might have seen my live that I did with Michael and Tatiana on One Blood by Deneen Milner. I highly recommend this book. This is a 5-star book. You cannot go wrong with it. This book is sort of like the tracing of 4 generations of women that are given with each birth, they receive a bit of the gift, which is this idea where they can see what's happening with someone or what's going to happen with someone. And we follow these 4 generations and we are glued, like I tell you, you are glued to the story. But not only that, the storytelling is phenomenal and the writing is genius. So good. She leaves no stone unturned. Yes, there could be some questions, but this is a life like story. So we're telling someone's life. So in life, you don't always get all the answers to all the questions. And it's a little bit like that in One Blood. And you know what? There ain't nothing wrong with that. This book is perfection. I highly recommend it if you're looking for something that's like multi-generational, particularly dealing with Black women. Yeah, get this book. It is on the long side, but I didn't feel it at all. I just, it's 417 pages. That's not really that long, but you know what I mean. It's on the longer side, but I highly recommend it. You're going to be very surprised when you read this one. The voices that Deneen Milner depicts in this book, they feel so real and so close to home. It's just fantastic. So I highly recommend you go and you listen to the live discussion I had with Michael and Tatiana. However, only go over there, if you have already read it because it's full of spoilers. So good. And last but not least, I read Lone Women by Victor Laval, and I read this with my Read Solid Book Club on Patreon. Whew. This is another really, really good book. This one was a real surprise. Now, Jesus, how can I talk about this book without giving anything? Okay. The main character of this book is a young Black woman. She's maybe about 31 years old, and her name is Adelaide. Now, Adelaide takes on to a journey to go west to take on some property and to work that property. I will not be talking about why she does that, and I won't be talking about what happens when she gets there, because that's what the book is about. But I would say focus on the title. It is about women, and it's told in a very sort of mystery kind of way. There's this sort of a looming questions that, kind of drives the story, this mystery about what is happening. Kind of gives you a little bit of a gothic feel to it because this is considered horror. Yeah. Fantasy horror. I would say fantasy little horror. Because, because you know me, I don't really do horror like that. But I read this book and I completely loved it. Victor Laval is brilliant in his storytelling, particularly moving around the themes of shame in this particular novel. Shame and also trying to find oneself, one's place in the world. Victor Laval, I have to say hats off to you. You did a fantastic job on this book. I highly recommend it. And this was a bit of a shorty because I thought it was going to be longer. And when it arrived, I was like, oh my God, it's only 275 pages. But it's 275 pages of pure goodness. And I highly recommend you read this one. This is a 5-star for me personally. I get that some people, I don't get why some people would DNF this one. I think you would need to read a little bit more to really understand what the book is about. But you have to appreciate the storytelling, the writing, and that's what is so brilliant about this one. he really does know how to wind it, yeah, that story out. He even often mentions in his book, a couple of times he mentions The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte. And in that book, it has a little bit of that mystery and the what's happening next kind of thing. And that's exactly what he does here. Totally brilliant. I highly recommend it. Just read the damn book. Just read the damn book. These are the 4 books I read in the month of July. In spite of doing Junk Journal July, I think I did okay because I got 3 5-star books and 1 3.5. You can't go wrong with that. Excellent, right? Okay, so that's it for now. I'll be back real soon with another video. Bye.